Hi, and welcome to my guide for 8A Golden Strawberry. This one is fairly tough. There's a lot of fireballs to dodge, a lot of cycles, and there's really a lot to say about this one, so let me just start now. Uh, this one's pretty trivial. Nothing much to say here. So for this next room, what I like to do to dodge the first set of fireballs is I enter it from the previous room, hold right, and once I get to the little ledge here, I dash twice. Then I go on the spring when the fireball is slightly to my right, the one above me. Then I hop over the fireball and dash twice to my right, and that works out every time. For this one, there's two ways. You can jump to the top, go to this little ledge here, and just fall to the side. Or, and this is what I prefer, I just directly dash to the right side and make it. This one is pretty easy. In this room, there really is a lot to say. So, you can either go when it's like this, when the room is on fire, or you can head to the rooms to the right and turn it to ice. So a lot of people find it pretty scary to go for it when it's on fire, but there's a strat here that makes it more manageable. And personally, that's what I prefer to do, just because it saves a lot of time. It's a lot more encouraging when you're doing runs, and after a while, it's fairly consistent, actually. So here's how it goes. You enter the room from this side, hold right, and you're gonna jump when you're at this little rock here. You're gonna do like a full jump. Then when you're in the middle of the crystal, pretty much like when you're here, right here, you're going to dash up. So it looks like this. Then you're gonna hesitate like a tiny bit before dashing diagonally twice. So this is what it looks like. And you should get to the ledge right here. And I tend to get it 2 out of 3 times, which is, I feel, pretty decent for this room. I definitely practice this, but after a while you should be comfortable doing it. If you really aren't comfortable with doing the strategy that I just showed, then you can try these rooms. So for this room, I like to enter it from here, and then I'll dash right onto the side of the platform. Then I'll quickly fall down and dash between one of the fireballs. It's not too hard, but it's probably one of the harder rooms in this section. For this one, I don't use the block up top, just because I don't really find it consistent. Instead, I like to do an extended hyper. Pretty much do it before the fireball appears below, so like now. And it's actually not extended, so not that bad. Then just dash right between the fireballs here. For this one, you're going to enter it, keep holding right, and jump. You'll get really close to the fireball, but you should be alright. So it looks like this. Hold right as you're heading out of that second block, and kind of just dash out of there. Takes a little bit of practice, but it's not too bad. For this one, you can use the block. Oh shit. What am I doing? I haven't done this in a while. Or you can just do an extend hyper, like this. This one's pretty easy. Just bounce on one of the ice balls near the beginning, and then just dash diagonally twice, and you should skip the rest. So when you're heading back, I forget actually. Haven't done this strategy in a while. Just wait a little bit on the second ice block and jump and dash diagonally. Here, just grab the wall, climb up, and you should be fine in this room. This one I like to bounce on one of them, dash up, and then this pretty easy. So then once you're here, what I like to do is I position myself right in the middle, and I basically jump and dash up when the ice ball up to my right here is along these two little ridges, like basically in this position, and I just basically time it to get on top of it. I personally don't find it that easy, so that's why I don't really find it that worth it to switch it to ice. But let me just try it. Yeah, haven't done this in a while. Oh, damn it. Yeah. So this room used to be pretty hard for me until I found a little trick at the end that makes it pretty easy. So just go through it calmly. No need to rush it. Just kind of wait until you have the opportunity. Then go here instead of going directly for the fireballs. Then just hop over one of the fireballs and do a diagonal dash like this. This room, I like to go when the fireball on the right is entering the wall like this. Then just look at one of the gaps, aim for it, and you should be okay. And the rest, there's nothing really much to say. This room is probably the hardest for me in the, or the second hardest for me in the first checkpoint. So I'll practice that one. Okay, welcome to checkpoint 2. This first room is pretty easy. Just make sure you don't dash too early here. Okay, so for this room, I've seen a lot of people have different strategies, and I'm sure that they work great for them. So just do whatever works for you. For me personally, what I like to do is I wait until the fireball is right there. So you see like the kind of that chain to the left of the first set of the fireballs. There's kind of two that are like kind of open looking at the bottom. So like once the fireball is at like the second link, like kind of around here, I would jump and do a diagonal dash. Then up dash, then diagonal, then up. So that was pretty fast, so maybe I'll just slow down a little bit. So jump, diagonal, up, diagonal, diagonal, up. Then just go through the rest like this. This room is, for me, the hardest one in the second checkpoint. There's no real trick to it, just practice it. What I like to do personally is just like this. Probably is an easier way to do it, but that's what I prefer. And I don't know why I dashed left onto the bouncer. The last one, really you can just dash right from there. You don't have to do the maneuver to get the berry up there. Okay, this room, a lot of people have trouble with it, but there's actually an easy way to do it. Relatively easy. So let me slow things down here so I can really show how to do it. So I enter it from the previous room. And once I'm jumping, you want to make sure that you jump near the edge, but not at the very edge. Like you don't want to get any coyote time, which is when like you're jumping off like the basically the pit. So you want to jump from like right here, because if you jump too far to the right with my strategy, let me just show that this will happen. So you want to hold right, jump here. You want to keep holding jump pretty much the whole time in this level, by the way. Once you're at this ice ball, you want to wait for the next one. And then once you hit the next ice ball, you immediately hit right. So you time hitting right for when you for the instant you hit the next ice ball. So like this. Then keep holding right until you hit this ice ball. And then the same thing as the previous one, except you want to wait for 2 ice balls. Right. Then just keep holding right for the rest of it. And you should be okay. So this is what that looks like at full speed. Stop. Go. Stop. Go. Practice it a couple times, but it should sink in pretty fast actually. So this is another room that has a pretty precise strategy. You want to enter it from the previous room, so you can set the cycle at a certain point. You want to hold right, get momentum at the very top, dash diagonally, and then you want to hit like near the bottom of this conveyor belt. Then get a hop, dash twice. Like on the first dash, you'll hit the gem, and that should give you a second dash to get to the conveyor belt. Then from here, just kind of dash one more time to make it easier to dodge these 2 fireballs. And that's it. So, welcome to checkpoint 3. This one's by far the worst to do. Definitely try to practice chapter 3 on its own until you can do it without dying. But definitely this is where most of your deaths will be once you get the first checkpoints down. So this one, there's nothing much to say. Here, I like... This is the first tricky room of checkpoint 3. Dash up twice to this block. Then get to this platform. From here, I like to jump early off the conveyor belt just to dodge the fireballs in case I'm at the wrong time, like that. For this next room, head for the switch as quickly as you can. And then you want to climb up to where the ice balls enter the wall. Then jump up left. Same thing for this one right here. And that should make it pretty easy. This room's pretty simple. Nothing really much to say about this one. This one can be pretty hard. Just try and find the timing for this one. Yeah, this is pretty hard. Here, there's 2 ways to go about it. You can jump and dash up in between the gaps in the fireballs, or you can dash diagonally left where the fireball enters the wall at a certain time. Like this. That's what I prefer to do, for some reason. For this section, just jump as the fireball above you is entering the wall, and you should be okay. There's no strategy in this room. You just have to get good at it. Make sure you only use one dash when you're climbing up the gaps. If you use it twice, you're kind of screwed. So just remember that. And it pretty much looks like this. Dash once. I like to basically jump 4 times there. And yeah, make sure you fast climb here. You don't want to slow climb. Like, you want to tap jump when you're climbing walls here, just to make it there fast enough. Then you want to you don't want to hold the jump button there, so you get smaller hops on the ice balls. Oh, and I guess I should mention that since maybe certain people don't know that. If you hold the jump button when you're on the ice balls, you'll get a higher jump off them, and if you don't, you will get a smaller hop. You don't have to time it. If you hold it the whole time, it does it automatically. So for these next set of ice blocks, you do want to hold the jump button. Oh, and that last one always kind of scares me because it kind of looks like you're heading into the ice wall there, but the hitbox is actually a little bit lower than it seems. There's a lot that can go wrong. I like to jump and diagonally dash to the next to the block on my left. One thing that can go wrong is if you jump too high and get too high a position on the block, you can actually hit the spikes like this. So try to avoid that. You definitely want to hit near the top of the spike wall though. So you want to get enough height to basically hit the crystal below me like I did, and then dash up into the fire block that I'm on now. You can diagonally dash, which I've tried in the past, but I found that to be a bit more inconsistent. It's really good to have a dash at this point. If you don't, you can pull it off, but there's like less wiggle room for sure. Okay. If you don't get as much height from the second block, let's see if I can. You want to dash up like that, and then just continue the strategy I did from there. Okay, that was close. Yeah. So, yay, another very tricky room. Not as bad as the previous room, but definitely a lot can go wrong here, so practice it a good amount. I also found that this is where I start to get pretty stressed out in my runs, because it's pretty late. So I'm probably pretty nervous too. Here on the conveyor belt, what I like to do is I like to get as much momentum as I can from it, and really jump at the very top so I can hit the switch just using 2 diagonal dashes. So like this. Okay, like that. If you don't hit the switch, just kind of do 2 wall jumps. But what I prefer to be on this left wall for this section. I just found it easier than being on the wall to my right. And just kind of wait for okay, yeah, that can happen for sure. I haven't done this in a while. So yeah, definitely a lot of practice for that room. Okay, here, take a deep breath, relax, and just get ready for the next section. So fortunately, the next 4 rooms aren't as bad as the rooms we just did. Unfortunately, the last room is with the feather is one of the worst, if not the worst, especially if you're not a fan of feathers like me. So yeah, personally I got to the feather room 3 times before actually getting it. So just kind of get used to that. Don't get discouraged. You'll get it eventually. Like if you get to the feather room, you're gonna get the berry eventually. So here you want to have your 2 dashes, preferably. The lava doesn't activate until you're on the platform, so don't be afraid to just grab the crystal. So this room you can do it in the normal strat is you use 2 dashes here and just kind of do the rest of the room normally. Wait here until the lava rises pretty high to give yourself time to kind of position yourself. And then from there you can either hold jump or not. I think either one works. And just kind of hop onto the... what I prefer to do, and especially if you're comfortable with extended hypers, is... or I think it might just be a hyper actually. Yeah, it's just a hyper. So yeah, you can't really extend a hyper here, it doesn't really work. And then you have a dash for later. So what I would do is I would just get a bounce on one of the crystals while holding jump. And then I would just go through the rest of it with a dash. This room is pretty easy. Nothing really much to say here. Just make sure you don't go too slow. Okay, so this room can be done in a lot of ways. If you're comfortable with hypers, this room will definitely be a lot easier than otherwise. So one of the ways is to just kind of use the bouncers and then do 2 hypers here. It definitely helps to get to the fish faster, but you don't strictly need to. This gives you more time. What I like to do is I like to do a hyper here, then jump and dash, holding, and then I hold grab the side of the ledge I was just on a minute ago or moment ago, and then yeah, just get through the rest. So just do that again. Hyper, jump, dash, jump. Yeah. Like usually hypers are not really an issue for me, but at this point in 8B I'm pretty stressed out, so I just prefer to find something a bit more easy input wise. Okay, this room is kind of hard. Make sure you get enough distance there on the fire block, and dash up and right and up. Yeah, very common place to die right here. Fortunately, the rest of the room isn't as bad. For this one right here, jump a bit earlier than you might expect, because it's more common to hit the spike when you're approaching it and not getting enough height on your jump. So like this. Do 2 diagonal dashes. Make sure you get the gem there. Oh, I'm screwed. Oh, okay. So be careful there, but generally you should be okay at that point. So this room is probably my least favorite, and unfortunately it's the second to last room in the level. Feathers are definitely not my strong suit, so yeah, just good luck here. There's no real strategy to it. Although, if I can get a certain cycle, what I try to do is kind of go through a certain pattern of fireballs later on. So just kind of dodge these. Make sure you don't hit any of the walls here. Okay, what I like to do here is I prefer to and go through here, go up, and then just kind of go through the rest of it like that. So just kind of like look for like consecutive gaps, because like the way they're positioned, you can kind of go through it by just holding like one direction. But oftentimes you don't really hit that cycle exactly right, so just kind of get through it any way you can, honestly. Okay, so the B block room. It can be a little tricky and really nerve-wracking, especially at this point. Practice it until you can do it 10 times in a row, and at that point it should be muscle memory enough for you to do it even if you're shaking. So enter it from the previous rooms to set the cycle at a certain point, and kind of just dash through the blue block as it disappears to hit the button. Then on this next block, jump at the last possible moment, like that, and that should set the fireballs in a pretty good pattern for you to do the rest of it. Oops. Okay, no. Let me just kind of do it without talking. Like that, go right away. Yeah, it's basically set up so that you just have to wait, like waiting for the block to appear, and dodging the fireball kind of happens in a good cycle. So just kind of wait a little bit and you should be fine. And that should be it. So yeah, this is definitely not one of the easiest golden berries to do on the A side. Personally, I found it to be probably the first or second hardest, only behind 7A. Definitely practice this one a lot, because a lot of the strategies aren't that easy to memorize. And you really have to rely on them just because of all the cycles and all that, so yeah. Good luck.